Following the Galactic Empire's reconquest of the mid and outer rim territories of the galaxy from the remaining separatist holdouts and criminal syndicates that sprung up during the Clone Wars, a majority of the Imperial governors and Moffs that came to rule these backwater worlds saw near absolute authority granted to them over their respective regions. Although most that were stationed in these positions held ambitious goals of acquiring more power by proving their worth to the Imperial High Command of the core worlds through grand economic developments and mass recruitment efforts into the ever-expanding Imperial military, there was one Moff who stood out from the rest in her lavish and carefree lifestyle. Her name was Delian Mors, and she was the Moff of the planet Ryloth. While initially Mors held similar aspirations as her fellow colleagues of rising the Imperial ranks shortly after the Republic's reorganization into the Galactic Empire, any desires to do so quickly faded following the death of her wife on Coruscant, who was killed in a transport accident. The death of her spouse left Mors in a deep depression, one that was likely amplified after she was assigned to rule over Ryloth, a post that was deemed unimportant as the backwater world held little value to the greater galaxy as a whole. As Moff of Ryloth, Mors spent nearly all of her time living within a luxurious palace stationed upon the planet's largest moon, with her only company being her countless female Twi'lek pleasure servants. These Twi'lek servants were all noted for being specifically green-skinned and were practically nude while living with her. Although these Twi'leks were literally her slaves, Mors refused to ever refer to them as such, deluding herself into believing they stayed with her because they genuinely loved her and not against their wills. On top of basically living in a private brothel, Mors was known to get constantly high off illegal spice, even going as far as having secret contacts with a few underground criminal syndicates to get said drugs. Despite all this grandeur and living like a queen, Mors remained in a constant state of misery when not high, having not gotten over the death of her wife. When it came to her governing duties, Mors simply delegated all her responsibilities to her underlings, not caring about what took place on Ryloth as long as there were no uprisings. This carefree attitude of hers trickled down to even the lowest ranking officers under her command, who were known to delegate their own responsibilities to loyal civilian Twi'leks to patrol the streets rather than overseeing the peacekeeping tasks themselves. As a result, many Imperial officers stationed on Ryloth during her rule were known to spend more time attending cantinas and brothels over their own duties. While a good chunk of these officers likely preferred this freedom to do essentially whatever they wanted, there was one ambitious officer under her command who resented her lifestyle and viewed her as unworthy of her post. This same officer, named Belcor Dre, later came to aid the growing Ryloth resistance movement, hoping their uprising would undermine Mors' authority and give him an opportunity to take her place. This plan of his ultimately backfired, as the very same Ryloth rebel cell he helped came to blackmail him, forcing him to commit treason by assisting their assassination attempt on Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader, which resulted in their Star Destroyer being brought down during their visit to the planet. Although both Sith Lords survived the attack, it did force Mors to get her act together once she was informed of what had happened, as she scrambled to help them to safety after learning they crash-landed within the jungles of Ryloth in a shuttle they escaped on. She was soon made aware of Belcor's treachery and later executed him for his crimes. Following the rescue of the Emperor and Lord Vader, Mors was given one last chance by Palpatine to prove herself to him, frightening her to the bone and making her take her post seriously as a result. Despite her turning a new leaf when it came to governing Ryloth during her initial negligence, only a year passed until she would fail again after being unable to stop a rebel smuggling vessel from escaping her grasp following their supply mission to the resistance cell on the planet. Although her fate afterwards is unknown, Palpatine likely kept his promise of giving her one last chance and had her executed, assuming he was notified of this minor failure of hers.